Come on in to Margaret McSweeney's Kitchen for Kitchen Chat, where every week you'll meet chefs, cookbook authors, foodies, gourmets, and just plain people who love to eat. And along with laughter, chat, recipes, and stories about food, you'll sometimes also hear words of inspiration, love, and hope. As Margaret always says, Kitchen Chat is food for the senses and food for the soul. So grab a cup of coffee, put your feet up on a comfy chair, and get ready to spend a little time with Margaret and her friends.
Hello, dear foodie friends, and welcome to Kitchen Chat. I'm your host, Margaret McSweeney, and I'm so glad you're joining me today here in the beautiful Middleby Residential Showroom in the Merchandise Mart. And as always, I'm just so thrilled to be with my favorite foodie friend, Chef Jamie Larita.
Margaret, when I stop being your favorite, I got a lot to worry about.
And you are in for a treat today. Someone who really needs no introduction is with us, Teri Turner, also known as No Crumbs Left. Oh my goodness, it's just so wonderful to have you here.
I'm so delighted to be here.
Yes, on Kitchen Chat, a fun foodie friend audience of, do you call them crumbles? Is that right?
Them could be crumbles or followers or just people who like to eat.
I love that, and I can't wait to hear about how your culinary journey began. Yes.
Well, thanks for asking. I mean, I'm just a gal that likes to eat. That's what I always say. You know, I'm a home cook, but I've been a passionate home cook, you know, pretty much for my whole life. I was born in a family that liked to eat. My mother absolutely didn't like to cook at all. And so I watched her journey, and I was like, oh, if you're going to live a long life, that's probably not a good thing to do, never like to cook. So when I got out on my own and I embraced sort of cooking and entertaining and what that meant, it was just the beginning for me of a lifelong passion. I always say it's my mistress. It's a lifelong passion, and I love to cook. I love to eat, and I love to talk to chefs and farmers markets, and so foodies of any kind.
Oh, and Jamie, she is known as the Julia Child of our generation. Yes, you have been given that.
I think they made it up.
Yes.
That's a huge title. That's a big hat to wear.
It is. It is. And I love to, I did a little bit of reading. We are on a parallel path, as we both know, where you lost your mom,
right.
And you do so much to honor her.
Absolutely.
And the reason I do Kitchen Chat is to honor my late father, who was a wonderful gourmet home chef, and he passed away in Paris 29 years ago on a business trip, and from a massive heart attack.
Restaurant is all I want to say.
He had gone to Notre Dame just right before he was at the Charles de Gaulle Airport, but he loved the restaurants in France. But I just have a little gift for you before we start that just puts the perfect pairing together.
What is it? A silpat.
And it says Paris on it.
Thank you. And just so you know, Paris is my favorite place in the world. Oh, I'm absolutely a gal that loves Paris.
Love that, and there's a little something else in there too to represent your mom.
I love that.
Guys, Margaret McSweeney.
And it's right there.
Oh, I love that. I love
gonna
it.
yay you.
It's a rooster. So the symbol for my mother is a rooster. And so we look for it and find evidence of her in all of our moments. So thank
that's
you.
Super cute.
Yes.
Love it. Thank
Love
you.
that.
So I call these hugs from heaven.
Love it.
So thank you for letting me share that. Yes.
So you have an incredible Instagram following.
I do.
So
For
how
some
did that?
crazy reason.
What did you say?
Some crazy reason.
For some crazy reason. Yeah. How did you cultivate that? How did that come about? And how do you continue? And how much do you feed it?
Oh, I mean, I feed it for sure. I mean, people say, how did you get that following? And I always like to say, one follower at a time.
Right.
But, in the beginning, I thanked every single person that followed, because it's really my honor, and it's such an honor that people would want to follow along on the food journey. So, what happened was I had about 44 followers. And one time I went on Andy Cohen's Instagram to make a comment, because I love Andy. And somebody said to me, well, we really care about you and your 44 followers. And I said to myself at that moment, I'm going to do something about that. So it was definitely a paradigm shift. It was really more my sharing my journey about cooking and eating, and my friends would want to see what I was making. And what happened was one person showed up at a time.
Yeah.
And an audience emerged, and we've got a great community, and a lot of it's about interacting and answering questions and setting up sort of ways to interact as a group virtually.
So you basically, what you're saying is that it was a very organic.
100%.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the same thing with mine. Every single day I seem to get one or two, three, and I'm like, it's just continuing to grow.
Yes.
But it's feeding it that in some instances can feel like a duty or a job.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do it with pleasure?
Well, I definitely do it with pleasure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's the key.
Absolutely. And it's not to say when you're writing a book that there aren't moments that are not pleasurable.
I've done it.
Or when you're working with brands and you're creating content and you really want to hit it out of the park every single time, that there aren't moments of going, oh gosh, what are we going to do here? Or doing something and then having to redo it the next day because it isn't as excellent as you want it to be.
Right.
So there are moments certainly of frustration, but it's a fun journey. It's a journey that it's by choice to be on it, and I'm absolutely loving it. And it's my 15 minutes, and I'm taking it as far as I can go with it.
You go,
I
girl.
love
I think that's great.
And speaking of feeding the followers, there is now a wonderful cookbook, No Crumbs Left. And this looks like a labor of love, and the recipes are amazing, and many of which you demonstrate on your Instagram feed.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I have the super interactive Instagram stories and lots of people showing up, whether I'm doing recipes or traveling or whatever. So the book is full of the recipes. I'm happy to say it's Whole30 endorsed, you know. And it's just like if you can have food that doesn't have gluten and dairy, it can be absolutely delicious. Why wouldn't you want to?
Mm-hmm.
So about 80% is Whole30, and then the rest are my family recipes that I made for my kids or passed down, you know, through the generations of my family.
And for those of us who might not be aware of Whole30,
Right.
What could you just in a
Yeah, and
nutshell
I'm not an
explain
expert
that?
on Whole30 by any means, but what it is, it's a 30-day reset that people do, where you eliminate a whole bunch of things from your diet: gluten, alcohol, dairy, grains, many, many things, sugar of any kind, and then you do a reset, and it just sort of lets you have a starting off point, and then sort of see, putting things back in, what you react to. But a lot of it is like eating paleo, but a little bit different.
Okay.
But I was an influencer for the brand, and they came to me and said, "We'd love for you to do a cookbook," and off we went. Yeah.
And these recipes, you're known also for your elixirs.
Yes, magic
Can you
elixirs.
share with us? You two are going to really bond on this, Jamie.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I like an elixir or two every now and then.
I love that about you. I bet you do.
This happens.
Such good ones. So they're just those things that turn food from ordinary to extraordinary. You know,
Yes.
whether it's a sauce or it's a spice combination. You know, my marinated onions, pistachio pesto, almond sauce. That's my way of meal prepping, having these beautiful things in the refrigerator or on the counter so that you can really turn food quickly into something that's wonderful.
Oh, you and I are going to get along just fine.
Well, we could do an entire cookbook.
Oh my God, I'm all about it. You don't even know. Like, I love little creepy jars of goodness.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
There's actually a centerfold in the book, and what it is it's my freezer, and the freezer has all of my jars of, you know, chicken au jus and some sauce that I have taken from a dried mushroom and created a wonderful stock. And it's just full of, and when we were doing it, I was like, we should photograph this because this is Teri here.
Absolutely.
So
and
we
the
had a lot of
book,
fun.
the book is, do you collect cookbooks?
I really don't.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah.
But it's like I love the size of it. It's like the square. It's like very cozy.
Yeah.
But the pictures in there really make you hungry. Like, I thumbed through the book really quickly. I can't wait to like take a deeper dive. But the photography is beautiful.
Yeah, Tim Turner was my photographer. He's a James Beard award-winning photographer. He's done something like 80 books.
Oh yeah, you can tell.
You know, and he's amazing, and he was really a mentor and a friend. And you know, he ran into me at a certain point, and you know, said, "You've got this unbelievable following, but you do not know how to take a picture." And so he came over and, in short order, worked with Zach and I and really taught us about taking pictures.
It's important.
And he's been an amazing mentor, and we've been so lucky.
Oh, yeah.
to have him, and we have the same last name. And we're
I
kind of
was
like
about to
siblings, just so you know.
Oh jeez.
But I mean, he's brilliant.
You eat with your eyes, and clearly that book is making me hungry.
Yeah.
It is
Thank you.
beautiful. And speaking of James Beard, Jamie, did you know that Teri was at the James Beard Awards and we were at the Girl and the Goat party at the same time?
You didn't see my suit?
You know, what were you wearing?
It was a floral tuxedo.
Oh my God, fantastic!
Yes.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I actually went to the James Beard Awards alone. It was the first time I went. Jesse Tyler Ferguson's a friend, and so he invited me to a party afterwards, and I wanted to see him do his thing. And I cried 12 times. Those chefs come up, the stories are so touching.
Yeah.
And when my makeup, it was gone. I cried. It was really heartwarming. And that is what we all need to do all the time, is find ways to get re-inspired, to get re-excited about life.
Right.
Yes.
You need to. I think when you're at the James Beard, I think everyone should go at least once.
You gotta.
You know, it's something that really resonates. I mean, all those foodies in one room, you can't help
Yes.
but, smell the goodness.
And the stories
Yes.
that come from that as well,
Yeah.
their own special recipes. Well, I would love to hear, too, about how you wrote your first cookbook, because you've never really written a cookbook, and it's different when you're kind of cooking live and then putting this.
And no one tells you, like, they hire you, and then you think they're going to say, let me tell you some things to do, this is how you keep track of it, this is what you do. And you have a blog where it's like, oh, you forgot to put how much salt, and I can just go add it. So suddenly you can't do that, and you have to get organized in a way that you don't know. And we mostly just made mistakes all along the way. It was like, oh, we've done this the hardest way we could ever do.
Oh my God, you and I are bonding on so many levels. We really are.
We were just skimming our nose constantly, making a lot of mistakes.
I wrote one cookbook. I wrote a cookbook with Sarah McLachlan called Plenty. And I thought, I could write a cookbook. That's a difficult thing to do.
Totally.
It's time consuming. It's really a project of passion because you got to get it right.
It's a project of passion, and it's a year and a half of your life where you're not going on vacation, where you're not,
Wow.
But then I said, there's the recipes, but if I can do a cookbook, what more do I want to say? What's important to me? What do I want to put into it? So that was really the fun part for me, was I have my lucky numbers 48, and I put 48 of my favorite cooking tips.
Yes.
I love sort of positive thinking quotes. So I had beautiful quotes, everyone from, Bill Murray to Mother Teresa. And I wanted to sort of weave my mother and my parents and sort of what they've given us, and I know you come from an amazing family, that I really wanted to weave that into the book. So my symbol for my mother is the rooster, and I just made sure, everywhere we had that we just had little pieces of my mother.
Yeah.
And we had my family, like you get a prop stylist and they bring all this wonderful stuff, and I was like, this is great, but I have beautiful family items, and that's really important to me.
I'm telling you, we're actually brothers. You're my new girlfriend. I feel like
some of the siblings, I just want to say.
Okay. Remember you said that.
Yeah.
So I think a great cookbook, Margaret, has a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
I know every time I look at my cookbook, although it's ancient right now, every time I look at it, I remember the moments. And I did put, a piece of ourselves. It was Sarah and myself collaborating on that. All of her artwork is through the book. So when I look through your book, I don't even have to, I can just pick it up and feel that.
Yeah.
So it's important that you put a piece of yourself into it. And if it's as good as this, then it's got to be a great cookbook.
Thank you. It's a labor of love. I put my love into it. And I just kept saying to my publisher, well, now I'm going to be adding 50 quotes. Well, now I'm going to be having tips section. Well, now I'm going to have tips throughout the book. And whatever I said, he never said no. I kept thinking he's going to say, you can't do that. So he let me do what I wanted, and,
She's the Madonna of cookbooks right now.
That is a great, the Julia Child and the Madonna of cookbooks. That is
we're going to have some fun.
Let me think about that for a minute.
Singing in the kitchen. Do you sing?
I do it all.
Okay.
I do it all. I come from a family of musicians, and I'm pretty much toned down.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, it's really, there's just 3 sisters and my parents. But my mother was a musician, my children's father's mother was a musician, my son is a songwriter, my daughter's an actor, so, we have creative people.
Yes.
That is great. And speaking of creative people, we have a fabulous live audience here, and I think we should open it up for questions.
We have one.
Yes.
I don't really have a question, but I just have a comment why I follow Teri on Instagram is because she's so down to earth. And it's approachable. It's nothing that's super out of anybody's, like, you could be a beginning cook and make something from her cookbook. You don't have to have a culinary background or go to culinary school. It's just simple. And her red onions and the oil, I've been making that for so long, and it's amazing. So it's just learning tips along the way, and you can just pick up everything. And obviously following her life on her stories is amazing, too.
Well, that's an amazing comment. She's
Yes.
talking about how, approachable you are in your recipes and your cookbook and all that. Talk to me about the training you've had, the culinary training.
My culinary training is simply the hard knock schools of life. It's just getting in there and cooking all of the time, and my interest in cooking. So all of the places that takes me, and if I'm going to do a sauce, it's doing it and getting it right and doing some research and figuring it out. So that's just been my lifelong passion, and I share my life with a man who does the same thing.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we love it. We talk about what we're going to make and what we're going to eat and
How nice.
do it and practice and go and get the shrimp, and then it's like not quite right and taking notes, and So it's what I love to do, absolutely. And of course, I love to eat.
Right. And I get a lot of people, being a chef, asking me, you know, whether their child or a friend of theirs wants to get into the culinary field and ask me, do they need to go to culinary school? I think if you've got the passion for it and you've got these days, the education is basically online. If you've got the passion for it, you can do it. I don't think that you really need a culinary school is great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but you know, it's a great foundation. But if you grow up culinary, you grow up in a culinary family. I think you've got the foundation you pretty much need. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely. And speaking of shrimp, you had just mentioned shrimp. I love your recipe. Is it the shrimp and the coconut?
Oh yes, coconut bowl. That's wonderful. So the idea is instead of just like tons of soup, it's more like this lovely shrimp in a luscious bowl with the coconut broth. And the idea is, you're going to love this. The shells are on. You put your hands in there.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing it with friends, and you take the shell off because it's much more delicious.
Talk dirty to me.
This is like Jamie. For example, with your family, you get right in there and you eat it, and that's a great bowl to share with friends.
I love food like that. If I, you know, I'm not shy. I'll stick my foot in it, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Margaret, for the visual. But I'm kind of curious. But I think that, you know, food like that's really interactive.
Yes.
I love when people get dirty when they eat. I think it's just great.
It's so much fun. The other thing we do is we show the mistakes. You know, if I make something and it's like I burned the pan or I did whatever, or we, you know, dropped the cake, we just say, oh, this is what happened, this is what we've learned. Like, we just keep rolling. You know, that's what we do.
I love how in the cookbook someone was visiting your kitchen and documenting everything going on, and your smoke alarm went off. That just made me feel immediately comfortable.
Sometimes,
yes.
100%. Sometimes I say to people, be emotionally prepared when you're boiling this chicken. Your smoke alarm is going to go off, so just know right away in advance. It's going to be worth it.
That is great. And you are going to be on the road. Can you share with the listeners and viewers?
So 20 cities. We're starting out Chicago. We're going to Minneapolis, New York, New Jersey, Boston, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Pasadena, Los Angeles, San Diego, Sacramento, Napa, San Francisco, Nashville, Seattle, Portland, Washington, and Denver.
You are Madonna.
Wow.
She knows her tour schedule.
I know.
Did you mention DC?
I think I said DC at one point. Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to tell you who we have at Washington, D.C. as our co-host. We have Haley Jackson, who is the MSNBC and NBC chief White House correspondent. And she contacted me and said, could I be your person in Washington? She follows, and she's a fan. And she said, I know I'm not a food blogger, but my interview skills are proven. And I was like, you're in. I mean, so it's like, and we barely announced it because that event's almost all the way filled, but she's fantastic. And
wow.
I'm a new fan. You got a new fan.
Yes.
You got a new fan.
Yes.
I'm not easy to fan.
Okay.
I'm not easy to fan. I'm not a fan, but I'm a fan.
Thank you.
I can feel the energy. It's good stuff.
I love it.
It's good stuff.
And I am just so honored that before this book tour, you're joining us here on Kitchen Chat. It's just like an honor
make a
to...
difference with what you're doing here and the people that you have on. And I remember Gabby from Gabby's
Yes.
I had lunch with her last year right before she came
So
here.
fun.
And where do you live?
I live in Chicago.
Oh, you live in Chicago?
Village, yeah.
Oh my God, we're friends.
Yeah.
I know.
Chicago my whole life. I mean, suburbs, but then moved to the city when I was 20 and never looked back.
Cool. I live in Bucktown.
Okay.
And we'll cook together.
That would be fantastic.
And one thing I would love, and I know I mentioned to you on the phone, Jamie and I in Kitchen Chat have just started this very special initiative. Jamie, can you share with that? Because charity begins in the kitchen.
Absolutely. So it's a simple thing, a simple idea. Listen, so Margaret came into the showroom, and there's this amazing man. His name is Michael Earhart, and he feeds the homeless. Literally goes out and feeds the homeless. And Margaret asked me, he's going to come into the showroom, he's going to do a kitchen chat, and she wanted to help. So she asked me, oh, you know, the guy's opening up cans of, like, he's going to, like, big box stores, and he's buying big boxes of things to make. We're talking about stews and things like that. And not necessarily things that are charged with love, right? Like when we do that. Yes. So Margaret asked me, you know, maybe you can help garnish and a lot of other foods. So I thought, I have to do something better than that or bigger than that. And I laid down in bed at night, and it just came into my head, like as if God tapped me on the shoulder and said, dude, you cook for them. And I thought, how easy is that? So I went out the next morning, and I bought a big old pot. I brought it into the showroom, and I made this incredible layered chicken stew. And it was fantastic, and I put all of my good intentions into it, and I drew on the pot lid, and I signed it, and I thought, this is a whole pot of love. And I thought to myself, well, why can't every chef or foodie or gourmand do that and just give it to this man, or better yet, go and feed the people with him? So Margaret came in, I said, here's a whole pot of love, and I thought we fed them, and it was incredible, honestly, how they reacted when these poor homeless people ate that food. It was as if you gave them a B12 infusion. They were lit up, and they came back 2 and 3 and 4 times. And Michael said they never do that, you know. And they started talking to each other, and they started communicating, and it was as if you just watered a plant that had not been watered in a few days. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to reach out to the good chefs of Chicago to start, and I'm going to ask them to make one pot, whether or not I have to go pick it up, or Michael has to go pick it up, or they bring it to my showroom. I'm going to give him a pot of love to feed these people, and I'm going to tell you something. It was magic.
Wow.
It was really, it was the kind of thing that I know works, as you know works, as when you're putting food and, you know, loving your food and gratitude and all that. People feel it.
Absolutely.
They feel it.
They're transformed.
And you know what? These people don't have the ability to go to Girl and the Goat and places like that. But I can certainly ask the chef to do me a favor and make their favorite dish for them. So that's what we're going to do.
Oh, it's great. I'd be happy to. When I got back from that tour, I would be happy. To cook my bolognese or something fantastic.
That's it. And then you just deliver it, and you feed people that really wouldn't ordinarily have the opportunity to eat something delicious like that.
Fantastic. It would be my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a whole pay it forward sort of motto at No Crumbs Left. And it's that really, there's a section in the book that calls making a difference. And my parents taught me the idea of really making a difference in whatever ways that you can. And even in the community, we had over 100 people that just said, I want to buy a book for somebody else in the community. Over 100 people who said, I would like to buy a book tour spot, a concert tour. We've gotten it done.
Okay.
You're singing.
I would like to buy a space. So we've had a lot of gifting that's gone, a lot of paying it forward. The same thing with our marinated onion bowls. I believe in the inherent goodness of people. And time again, we see that. And we see evidence of that. Certainly if we go around believing we're going to see it, we do.
Yeah. And there are a lot of organizations that are more set up that we can, bigger charities and stuff like that. But Michael is doing something special. It really affected me, Margaret, when not only did he deliver the food, but he had a whole big table set up with like clothing and shoes and sweatshirts and socks, all fresh and clean, so these people can have a change of clothes. It was pretty astounding.
It just provides such dignity, and you really get to see what happens firsthand. So thank you for your heart for charity. Thank you. And that will be another fun kitchen chat and social media. Well, thank you so much for being on Kitchen Chat. Just such a delight. And I always like to end the show with 3 top tips for the home chef. I know you have 48 in here, and we'll make sure we have the link and everything to her cookbook, No Crumbs Left. But top 3 off the top of your head.
Well, first of all, I think if you can cook with chicken on the bone, if you can do bone on skin, skin on chicken, it's a revelation. I mean, and for people who like everything boneless, salt, pepper, olive oil, stick it in the oven, 375 for 30 minutes, baste it. It's going to be absolutely spectacular.
It is.
Okay.
The other thing is that there are people that do things better than us. So if you have a fishmonger, if you've got a fish store in your area, absolutely let them devein the shrimp for you, let the butcher butterfly the chicken for you, especially if it's something you're learning and you're just figuring it out. If there's a Middle Eastern store and they do hummus better than you do, absolutely.
Oh, I'm with you. We're best friends.
Absolutely, make that happen. And I save my pan juices, whether it's my chicken, my beef, all of those things make food so luscious. And when you do a chicken and then you've got the wonderful pan juices, don't throw it out. Stick it in the freezer, add it to minestrone, add it to pasta, rice,
Bacon grease.
Bacon grease too. We love it. All of these kinds of things. So all of that, and then there's 47 more.
Yes, we have all of the tips here and No Crumbs Left. I'll make sure that we have a link to all of her information. But thank you again, Teri Turner, and thank you, Chef Jamie. Appreciate it being on Kitchen Chat. Yes. And thank you so much, foodie friends. Those who are here, in the beautiful Viking and La Cornue showroom. Come visit Chef Jamie Larita here in the Merchandise Mart, Discover Luxe Home, Suite 137, also the VikingLife.com. And please come visit me in my kitchen, kitchenchat.info. And always remember to take a moment and savor the day.
Thanks for joining Margaret for Kitchen Chat today. Margaret would be so excited for you to drop by and visit with her at kitchenchat.info, where you'll enjoy podcasts, blogs, recipes, tips from chefs, and even great giveaways. She invites you to share your recipes and kitchen stories too. As Margaret always says, savor the day.